everyone. I'm Abby, your virtual host for the 6th edition of Lisbon Law and Tech. I would like to welcome you to the closing day of this international online conference, dedicated to the debate about the future of law and technology. This initiative is organized by the Knowledge Institute of Abreu Advogados. Today, we close our conference with a debate on legal tech and digital transformation of in-house teams, moderated by Ricardo Henriques, partner and co-coordinator of the IP and Information Technology practice area at Abreu Advogados. He is also a member of the board of the Knowledge Institute. He has been working on projects related to various aspects of tech law, from data protection and IP to artificial intelligence and digital law compliance. Welcome, Ricardo.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this third and final day of the Lisbon Law and Tech annual event. This today dedicated to the legal tech and digital transformation of in-house teams. So today we have with us three guests, Michele DeStefano, Trevor Quick, and Marta Castro, who I will quickly introduce. Michele DeStefano is a professor at the University of Miami and a faculty chair in Harvard Law School's executive education program, known for her expertise in innovation, collaboration, and culture change in law. She is also an author, a speaker, and consultant to professional service firms and corporate legal departments. Recognized as one of the top 20 most innovative lawyers in North America by the Financial Times, she founded Law Without Walls, a global community driving innovation in the legal profession. Michele is also the co-creator of the Digital Legal Exchange and an author of several books on leadership and innovation in law. Trevor Quick is a strategic business development manager at Harvey AI, where he and his team of strategic business development leads focus on bringing legal domain expertise to all aspects of Harvey's customer relationships. Trevor has helped guide major law firms and enterprises around the world with their deployment of Harvey AI. And Marta Castro is a member of Galp Group's Legal Affairs Department since 2013 and is currently head of legal for industrial procurement and technology. Graduated in law and obtained a master's degree in public law from Nova Law School. She's also a postgraduate degree in management from Católica Lisbon School of Business and Economics. Welcome, the three of you. So I would like to start off by knowing a little bit more about your journey and involvement with the legal tech and digital transformation. And I would like to ask first to Michele, how did you get involved in the legal and digital transformation topics? And could you tell us a little bit more about the Law Without Walls project and the goals and the objectives of this initiative and how it contributes to the digital transformation in the legal profession?
Hi, everybody. So as a professor, I've been studying the changes in the legal marketplace. That's my area of interest. And the way I do that, a couple ways, is one, I do qualitative interviews. I've interviewed almost 300 general counsels, law firm partners, heads of innovation, and their clients over the past 6 years all over the world to know what's happening with innovation, tech, and the law. The other way is through my consultancy, Move Law, where I work with corporate legal departments and law firms on various things, including workshops on leadership and client centricity and change and culture transformation. But additionally, Law Without Walls. And I began Law Without Walls. Our first Law Without Walls event was in 2011. And Law Without Walls was originally designed to break down hierarchies between law and business, between technology and the law, between professors and the real world, between schools of different rank, you name it, which is why it's called Law Without Walls. And it was also designed to have practitioners, practicing lawyers, working with law and business school students from around the world to try to innovate and change. And part of that is skills development, learning new skills related to technology, data analytics, but also some of the emotional EQ skills that we don't teach in law school around humility, self-awareness, flexibility, the ability to take risks, etc. And our very first program was a 4-month journey where we started in person and then we worked virtually. So we were the first program, I think, in the globally first law program to implement and use virtual technology for classes around the world, real-time virtual, not asynchronous. So what we did was we met in person, and then we used different tools. Back then, we used Adobe Connect, but through the years, we used Zoom. The first year Zoom came out, didn't prefer it because it didn't allow you to set the view. But we've used a bunch of different types of technologies, and with the goal of not only learning how to use the technology, but innovating. So we put teams of lawyers, business professionals, and students together to hack on business of law challenges, which could be anything related to increasing efficiency, retaining talent, recruitment, operationalizing the legal department, et cetera. The last thing I'll say, and then I'll turn it over to other people, is during the pandemic, I was able to work on and co-develop the Digital Legal Exchange, which is a nonprofit designed to help in-house counsel as they start on their digital transformation journeys. So I've learned a lot through that, through working with general counsels on workshops, on getting them started in their digital transformation journeys, and also have written some articles about that. So that's sort of my background in law and tech, my beginnings, and I turn it back to or over to whoever's next.
Thank you very much for those insights and two very interesting projects for sure that we'll have an opportunity to explore further in this talk. So Trevor, what has been your journey in the legal tech industry? Could you give us some insights as to how Harvey differentiates itself from other legal tech solutions in the market?
Yeah, absolutely. So my journey with Harvey started from actually just seeing kind of the growth, explosive growth that Harvey was having in the legal community, and being intrigued, and then coming aboard after seeing a demo of the product, and really thinking from my practice area of capital markets that the implications were going to be revolutionary. I mean, on par or possibly exceeding, email. And so I think from that perspective, really being excited to jump in, it's been awesome to see that kind of pace of innovation. And I think, my fellow panelists, as well as people in the audience, are certainly seeing this not just in legal tech, but globally in every facet of our lives, whether it's you're, working with an airline to get your flight moved or anything like that. Generative AI is really becoming very pervasive. And I think with legal, what's exciting about that is it allows attorneys to really effectively and efficiently serve their clients in ways that previously would have been impossible without throwing more man hours at the problem. And so what we see constantly is exciting development of new use cases from firms all over the world, and how they're deploying the technology being very much a reflection of their experience and business savvy in running a law firm, or for our in-house teams that we partner with, running their businesses and serving the business unit leaders with legal operations talent. And what they're increasingly doing is doing that more effectively because they are better able to handle kind of rote tasks that they don't want to have to spend critical hours on with generative AI, and also using generative AI to level up their critical thinking and analytical abilities so that they can really drive forward processes at a faster clip. I think the pace of innovation within the industry has been awesome, and it's been incredible to find an industry that I think gets a undeserved reputation for lacking in innovation, the legal industry, really actually embrace it wholeheartedly. And so that openness to innovation and partnership has really been exciting for us, because at Harvey, in terms of differentiation, I think some legal tools are trying to drive users to practice law like the tool. And I think instead at Harvey, we take very much a user approach first, and want Harvey to be that kind of utility belt where any attorney can practice law the way they kind of envision, using Harvey to level up their skill set and make them faster and more effective. So it's been really exciting. And frankly, what's crazy is, and we say this all the time at Harvey, is this is the worst the product's going to be. And so the rate of innovation internally, as well as with our partners, has been awesome, including you all. And so we're really excited to see that innovation continue to drive value for clients, as well as move the legal industry forward.
Thank you very much for those comments. And also discuss them a little bit ahead. Marta, can you share with us also your background and your role within Galp group in Portugal, and also perhaps share some of the unique challenges that Portuguese companies face when it comes to adapting and integrating these legal tech solutions from foreign vendors?
Sure. So first of all, let me explain this. My role is mainly as a legal counsel. So the adoption of legal tech tools and these solutions has been more an inevitability more than just my role. So that's the first point I would like to just clarify. And what we have been doing here at Galp is adopting some tools that we believe make sense for us as an in-house legal department in order to enhance our productivity and our effectiveness while giving support and legal advice to the business units. And because it is paramount for us, and it is paramount for the company that the legal team has steps out from a more rather reactive role and to a more proactive role. And we can only do that if we are more available to be involved and go through a deep dive in the businesses. And Galp has a lot of different businesses within the energy world, so we are involved in the energy almost more all of the chains of the industry, sorry. And that needs time, that takes effort, and that's why we have been focusing in what's more relevant to us, and that is mainly switching from tasks that are routine, that are time consuming, and making it more autonomous so we can be focused on more brain consuming topics. And I don't really see we have, because we are a Portuguese company, a lot of different struggles from any other European company by adopting these kind of tools, because I believe the concerns are mainly the same. We are talking here about privacy. We're talking about cybersecurity, more in the more recent times, AI also. And that's our main concerns. We have others, of course, like any other company that is engaged during the tender processes. And that's really about it. So we really don't have like I would say a very strict plan. We just go and contract whatever we see it's missing in our day-to-day business.
Thank you very much for those initial thoughts on this. So turning again to Michele, I'd like to ask Michele, how do you see and define this digital transformation process that in-house legal teams have to go through to be more attuned to the legal tech tools and to transform their businesses?
So recently wrote an article with Marta Castro, currently a deputy GC at Ramco and former GC of Haleon. And in our article, along with Dan Wu, who's another co-author, we identify not only best practices, but some of the things that we think in-house counsel are maybe doing incorrectly at the start of their journeys. And what we're seeing some general counsels doing, and instead of looking at the problem holistically, they're going with piecemeal solutions. And at the end of the day, then, if you think about it like a kitchen remodel, then the stove isn't in the right place compared to the fridge, or it doesn't all work together. There's a great clip from the movie The Founder, where in McDonald's takes everybody from the person who serves the pickles all the way up to the CEO of the company out onto a tennis court or a basketball court, and they try to operationalize the kitchen to make it so they can make a burger 30 seconds faster. And in a lot of ways, this is what in-house counsel are doing when they're operationalizing their legal department. And they're trying really hard to look at what's not working and increase efficiencies. However, if that's done in a vacuum with just in-house at the basketball court, then sometimes what happens is they make changes that the internal business clients don't prefer or don't work with the business's technology. And so what we recommend in our article is really a more holistic and proactive co-collaborative approach to digital transformation, one that considers not just what the needs are, but what the future will be, and also what the brand of the legal department is, what type of service the business really wants. You know, some businesses want service like the Ritz-Carlton and others want it more like the Travelodge. And all of that has to be taken into account when you're using and applying digital tools. It can't just be, we need to fix this or this or this, because at the end of the day, then it doesn't all fit together. And then the legal department isn't providing the type of service, a client-centric type of service that the business really wants, with a view to the actual customer. So for me, digital transformation is all tied into client and customer centricity, and a key for the legal department justifying its existence and its value add.
Thank you very much for that. So Trevor, what do you see as the key benefits that legal tech such as Harvey or other, but not only Harvey, brings to in-house legal departments? We of course all know that they all are trying to cost saving and improve efficiency and speed, but how do you see the impact of the adoption of these legal tech tools?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when we talk about in-house teams, especially as you mentioned, one of the biggest issues is that there is this kind of level of work that sits in these awkward spaces between what outside counsel are really prepared to do and the man hours involved with outside counsel handling those, and in-house teams not having the kind of workforce to handle those, but not also having the appetite for cost that sending it out to outside counsel is going to take. So I think in many ways it's an excellent low-hanging fruit for generative AI, is finding that kind of those gaps where you don't feel, that outside counsel is particularly interested in. I mean, I think about these massive amounts of just kind of like rote review of diligence, less so, but, certainly just kind of standard contract maintenance and review of where your legal obligations lie, and in-house teams feeling like that's work that needs to be done, but it's not well served by having a legal team of maybe even as few as like 4 or 5 people reviewing that and taking up the time to do that. So that's a real low-hanging fruit in our eyes. I think as we move forward and continue to grow, where we're most excited about that development is as actually in collaboration. Generative AI, the speed and efficiency that it brings is inherent to the value proposition, really allowing in-house teams and their outside counsel to work together much more collaboratively and efficiently and effectively together, because you don't have to have kind of this ping pong back and forth of a workflow and communication, but instead can do things in kind of faster iterations together concurrently, which is really exciting. Ultimately, I think when we talk with in-house teams, what they're really excited about with generative AI isn't so much cost savings as innovation. I think, again, the reputation for the legal industry as a non-innovative area doesn't really hold up when you think about how much more complex legal arguments and contract have gotten over the past decades. But I think they get really excited to see that law firms are really embracing technology and the changes that will bring, not just from a cost savings and efficiency standpoint, but from how they'll be able to deliver on value propositions. So I think in-house counsel tend to be very ecstatic when they think about generative AI's ability on massive litigation to increase the frequency with which their outside counsel is able to file motions. So you're no longer stuck to kind of the whims of the and the ability and kind of lack of sleep of a junior associate or a member of your own team. Instead, you're now able to level those folks up. So really across the board, I think innovation and it being integrated into legal workflows is exciting. We've had a GC told us when they made a purchasing decision of Harvey that they got it approved so quickly because the CEO said, "You guys literally never ask me for anything, so I know that this must be important." And I think that being a part of that kind of institution-wide incorporation of generative AI is really exciting for legal. And again, the low-hanging fruit that it represents are cost savings in many ways, but also just speed and transaction certainty or ability to manage caseload much more effectively off the bat.
Thank you for those comments. And Marta, do you see any, or have you found any barriers or in promoting digital transformation within the legal team? How has this been processing or developing in your group, in your in-house team?
So that's a really tricky question because although Trevor says that legal is seen as a non-innovative industry, the fact is that people, from my experience, most people that work in legal are very strict on adopting new technologies and innovative digital solutions, and that's in fact my experience. And that's what we have been feeling from day one when we have, for example, implemented within the team a document management system that is as basic as it gets. And the fact is, we had to struggle for a very long time for everyone to work in that centralized space of storage and sharing of information and documents. So, yeah, I totally agree when we say that legal is seen as not innovative, but in fact, I believe that is mostly a perspective that has some amount of truth, and it comes from within, and it comes from people that work in legal. As you know, this is my experience. We are talking about a team that has people in Portugal, Spain, and Brazil. So we have also very different cultures here in place. But yes, we have been struggling, although through the years it's gotten much better. People nowadays accept much better, and new generations accept it as a very simple. We have this struggle mostly with the generations that were already in the workplace when these solutions came to the market. So it's a path, no doubt. It's a path with a lot of hurdles, but we have been able to overcome them.
Thank you for sharing that. And perhaps let me just change your now and ask Trevor, what legal tech tools do you see your clients using the most in the market? What, besides, of course, now the generative AI tools and these legal chatbots, other tools that interact or complement this tool, what are your views on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think integration of generative AI is a holistic strategy. To Marta's point, there is, again, the misimpression I think many people have of legal departments is that they are resistant to change, whereas I think they're constantly looking for an edge. And so that, like Marta said, lends itself to innovation. And that's where generative AI really plugs into existing legal tools really well. You can see that with a lot of players in the legal tech space trying to add to their offerings a generative AI component, whether through an in-house development strategy, whether through kind of a wrapper strategy where they're basically taking GPT and then putting a wrapper on top of it, or through M&A activity where they're looking at kind of younger in their life cycle companies and acquiring those to kind of integrate with their strategies. Certainly, ourselves and many other companies are looking at partnerships actively with other players in the legal tech space. But I think what is a challenge that we sometimes face with potential and existing customers is that their view of how to integrate generative AI is that it should be holistic, kind of baby with the bathwater strategy. Whereas I always think of it as how do you break down constituent workflows into individual steps? And once you do that, the plugins for generative AI become almost infinite because you don't need generative AI to do steps 1 through 10, as a tool that doesn't have as much in terms of legal research as the kind of behemoths of legal research and products that they offer. We always talk about the ability to use Harvey kind of at step 2. So you would use your existing case law research function, but now you go to Harvey and have Harvey analyze those cases that you've found and do the analysis there. And so I think for many folks in the generative AI space, it's really about figuring out where your tool can fit in with the existing tech stack, because then you're meeting attorneys where they are. And that's been crucial to our strategy and growth, is not reinventing the way attorneys work, but just cycling those exact same workflows through Harvey at a faster clip, giving you that real flywheel effect of efficiency.
Okay, thank you. Marta, when selecting legal tech vendors and solutions for your in-house team, what are the main concerns, and how do you evaluate the value proposition from the different legal tech vendors?
That's a really hard question to answer, because we have a very complex process when selecting vendors to the group. But let me just start by saying that for us, it's not really about the vendor when it comes to digital solutions, but rather the solution itself and what it brings to us and what it can address from our needs. And that being said, we always need to count on our colleagues from the IT team, because as you may imagine, we are not able to put into words what we need on a functional requirement basis. So we need to have that help, and we do that. So we are constantly in conversations with our IT team, so they can help us when we go to the market and seek those kinds of solutions. And when we have the proposals in the table and going through them, again, always with our IT colleagues, we like very much to have proof of concepts or maybe use case demonstrations, because we need to see the solution, the tool work and doing whatever we require it to do. So that's basically our process. We have also a lot of assessments that take place during the tendering process that are paramount to us, but are not really that specific for digital tools. It's a very transversal procedure to the group, and it goes to privacy issues, cybersecurity issues, compliance, business continuity. So we do a lot of assessments when we are hiring a prospective vendor. And also from a commercial perspective, we count on our procurement team that conducts all this process to go through that and to negotiate from. So to be quite transparent, our role as an in-house legal department is mainly to be able to speak up the needs and then be able to see if our needs are really covered by whatever the solution is and whatever the vendor is proposing. Other than that, we have much more capable teams within the group that can do their jobs.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. And Michele, can you share perhaps some from all of the talks that you said that you had with several GCs around from your interviews. Perhaps share a successful digital transformation project that you see as a role model or an example that should be followed.
Sorry, I was muted.
Okay.
I
Sorry.
don't know if I can share an actual real example. I would say that the model approach is to start holistically, figure out what's not working, create a plan, and work with your business professionals along the way to make sure that what you're implementing is going to work for them as well. And I also think that what Marta says is really important too, that there needs to be a lot of collaboration with the IT folks, a lot. And some IT departments are better than others. There's some that are exemplary, very client-centric, really understand what lawyers do. And unfortunately, there's a lot of dead weight as well. And I hope I don't offend anybody, but there's a lot of IT people out there that have had these jobs and see themselves more as, operations and making sure computers run. And there's a need for those people, but there's also a need for a very specialized client-centric IT person that has a kind of a multidisciplinary approach and can really understand what lawyers do and why they do it and how this tool needs to be used for them, but then also the how that works with who they're servicing. Because let's face it, in-house legal departments are service departments, and their client are the internal business people, and their ultimate client is the customer. So IT really actually needs, first of all, they should be lauded, the ones that are doing all that. It's a lot, right? Because that's meaning they have to understand the whole thing. And then I guess the other thing I would say is the in-house legal departments that do it right are the ones that find the right partners. It sounds like Trevor and Harvey is a great partner, because what I see lacking in the last 10 years and why I think digital transformation hasn't happened as quickly is the vendors themselves don't do what I just said. They aren't really understanding the legal marketplace, and they disappear. And there needs to be a bridge, right? Because look, Pete, there's loss that comes with change. And this is huge change when you ask people to use new technology. I always say to everybody, when's the last time you're out at a restaurant, and in America, we give tips. So you do the math yourself, even though you have your phone with you, right? That's silly. But the point is that our old habits are ingrained in us. And when we're busy and overworked, it's just easier even to do it the long way than to do it the new, shorter way. What I would say about Gen AI, which is so cool, is if you just show a lawyer or anybody once, they say, oh, it's like magic, right? It's like a wizard. It's like we all felt back. I'm not imaging myself, I know, but we felt back when the World Wide Web happened in the early 90s. It's like, oh, whoa, there's stuff happening out in the ether. So that we got to ride that whoa to get people to adopt it. Yet we need all the players there to kind of hold hands, massage. I see Trevor nodding his head, so I'm going to maybe turn it back over to the moderator and Trevor to go with this.
Actually, something I wanted to ask, how do you see that changing, Trevor? How do you see that adoption of this legal tech changing the way people operate on a day-to-day basis, and this cooperation between the legal team and the IT team?
Yeah, I think I couldn't echo more emphatically what Michele was saying. I felt a little bit like a crazy person just nodding like a lunatic. But I really do think that it is transforming those kind of connective tissues of organizations. I think that in many instances, especially at law firms, right, the IT team is often thought of like Michele described, right? This team of kind of like, how do I keep my technology functioning, and not how do we, just like any other area of a law firm, continue to deliver value for our clients. For in-house teams, I think that IT at large scale organizations tends to be thought of differently. But you still do have some of those mentalities of maintenance of a tech stack, not how does our tech stack speak into our overall vision. Where we're really excited, and I can't speak to other organizations in the generative AI space, but where we're really excited is we see frequently with growth within a law firm or within an in-house team for Harvey is almost on like a social network style effect, where you see people actually really excited about the impact it's having on their practice, their workflows, and then sharing that with their colleagues, peers. and then that driving additional adoption. And for anyone who's worked in legal tech, that's very bizarre. That's not what happens. Certainly from my time at Skadden, we had a lot of great technological tools available to us, but the only way you could really get attorneys to take time from their day and from the billable hour and from their kind of crushing deadlines was you had to offer them a free meal or some other enticement to go get excited. And I think that that's where generative AI benefits so much from the kind of global conversation is because if you're in-house, you're constantly hearing your CEO, business unit leaders talk about generative AI as a strategic imperative across the business. And when you hear that and you then find out that there are tools like Harvey that can be integrated into your workflows that represent cost savings, especially from an in-house team of you don't have to ask people to work till 9 p.m. Maybe now you can get them out the door by 6, things like that. You get really excited. And when you get excited about that, you have a desire to integrate that into your work day. I think the other thing that we don't really talk about as much, but I think is very much indicative of why generative AI and legal pair together so well, if the functionality is there, is because in many ways, the practice of law can be extremely difficult when you charge your time. Time is a finite commodity that any of us can offer. And that creates, we're all aware of in the legal profession, there are outsized incidents of alcoholism, divorce, depression, things that no one would consider a positive. And I think that that's where, beyond just the technological value that Harvey and other generative AI tools offer, is the kind of humanitarian value of being able to allow people to actually embrace and enjoy their lives. Because instead of having to spend 8 hours looking through a data room of 1,000 documents, you can plug that into a Harvey, and in 5 minutes, you can have key takeaways of your diligence review ready and to go. Pulling it back into kind of the root of the question, I think for us, what we're really trying to do is figure out how can we stay connected to what law firms and in-house teams are doing and allow them the ability to kind of leverage those different value propositions that I just outlined that cover a wide gambit of different areas. And how do we allow them to do so effectively and work as effective partners moving forward to continue to see that growth?
Okay, thank you. I'd like to move on to a different topic where I'd like to hear the three of you speak about is the issue of data and security. And perhaps I'll start off with Marta to see how do you balance this need of innovation with this need of maintaining compliance and data security in your legal tech initiatives? Does this cause, or has this been causing some delay or accrued concerns in terms of implementing new tech solutions?
Well, the answer is quite simple. Security and cybersecurity above all else in matters of digital innovation. So we, as a group, see cybersecurity matters and privacy matters and data security matters as part of our, let's call it, license to operate. So that's part of our core businesses, all of them. So we do not hire innovative solutions if they do not comply with our standards on these matters. So this is crucial for us because we are not talking about systems that we cannot live without. So they are not core systems within the company. They are systems that absolutely can improve our ways of work, improve, as Trevor said, and that's a really good point, our work-life balance and our personal lives. That's crucial also. But the thing is, nowadays, a major breach, a major incident when it comes to data and to cybersecurity could jeopardize the whole business, could jeopardize the company, the group, and that's for us is a no-go.
Michele, how do you see that this issue of data and security in the experience that you've had with this type of projects?
Well, I would say first that it's really awesome that so many law firms have embraced generative AI so quickly and have closed systems and are trusting it. And look, I totally agree with Marta. We can't have, breaches and and things that are going on with right now where I can't even tell you how many things I get just last week, Mom, I dropped my cell phone in the sink. Can you text this number? And it's not even my kid, right? So, I mean, there's all these things happening all over the world, and it's going to continue to get worse. And yet, I would say we can't live in fear and not embrace change because of the risks. And it means good things for lawyers because we're good at preventing risk, and that's our job. That said, I was amazed and very glad that so many law firms are embracing these Gen AI tools and working on closed systems and trying really hard to embrace them and do it in a way that's safe and effective. If you remember, and again, I don't want to age anybody, but when emails first came out, some of the same things were being said about email that are being said right now about generative AI. Oh my gosh, we can't ever send any client information via email. Absolutely not. We got to keep FedExing it and, snail mailing it. And over time, we've learned how to manage that risk. I get that. Look, there's tons of different types of risks of data not related to Gen AI, but related to Gen AI specifically. I think that it's great that people are embracing it despite some of the risks, but we have to move, we can't move too quickly and we have to move carefully. And for me, I guess that's where I'm at, so we shouldn't not use it. That said, we have to be careful. And I think we're going to see more and more regulation. It's already started. And some of that will be good. And some of that will be maybe not so good.
How do you see it, Trevor, this issue of security? And is it something that you see a lot of your clients concerned about? Is this the first question you get asked when you try and start implementing these tools?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first question generally we get asked in our world of Zoom calls is people want to know if we're real or robots. But no, the substantive questions on security are, I mean, completely valid. Whether you're a law firm or an in-house team, legal documents are going to represent the kind of hacker's dream of document leaks. So we take that very seriously. I think, fortunately for us, working with law firms and legal teams, we understand that it's kind of table stakes. I think the broader question of security, though, extends beyond not just securing your data on our servers or on your servers and making sure that there's no breach through use of our platform, but it's also how can you be certain and secure that the information contained therein isn't bleeding out into the larger generative AI environment, right? How can you make sure that your practice of law is not being reflected by other customers of a generative AI service? And for us, that's why we don't train on customer data. We really take it very seriously. We do not want, there are benefits obviously to doing that, and some services offer that, but we think that the risk of allowing, from my background, the Skadden Arps practice of law to bleed out into, other law firms isn't really what any customer's interested in. And so we don't do that, and try to meet those customers where they are. We try to be very flexible with retention periods, things like that. And I think that that's how the entire industry is kind of moving forward, hopefully, is this idea of how do we meet our customers where they're comfortable, and while pushing back against misconceptions of what generative AI presents risks on, while also being very receptive to the underlying concerns. I think, frankly, if cloud computing had not become so explosively popular in the last few years, I think generative AI would have a lot more struggles in making people feel confident in the security. And so we really benefit from the kind of innovation that's taken place there. And we see that, with law firms or in-house teams, if they've undergone the transformation to cloud computing in the past few years, they're a lot more receptive to what we're doing. If they're undergoing that change right now, then they tend to be a little more reluctant about the safety of their documents. But we work with firms that have and in-house teams that have had data breaches prior to us, and they're approaching us just like any other vendor. And again, I think they have open eyes about what are risks anytime you open your data to someone. But we feel very confident about how we're approaching it and and defending our customers' data just the same way that they would expect from any other vendor.
Thank you for sharing that. So I think now we could have a look into the future of these technologies, and I'd like to ask Michele, how do you see the role of in-house legal teams evolving as this process of digital transformation continues to advance and these new legal tech tools, more and more advanced, continue to appear in the market?
I think it's a huge opportunity for in-house to start to drive revenue, create revenue generating opportunities. They sit, the in-house legal sits on a lot of data. And one thing that's really cool about being in the in-house legal department is they have touch points all over the company and see things, gaps, risks, opportunities that other entities within the business can't see because they don't work with each of the entities, right? So with the amount of information at their fingertips, programs and tech tools like Trevor's at Harvey, it's unreal what I think lawyers could possibly do for revenue generating opportunities. Just think about it. They could take their contracts, put them through the tool and ask it to identify all the clauses that could be litigated right now because there's been breaches, or if there's opportunities for gaining some money back on various contracts or things that they didn't take advantage of that they could have. And not that always the business will take them up on these opportunities, because of course there's business reasons not to go after your customers and not to go after all that maybe low-hanging fruit. That said, I think that there will be lots of opportunities for in-house to find areas where they can add actual real money to the bottom line of the business instead of being considered a cost center that's a value add.
Thank you. And Marta, what advice would you give to other in-house legal teams that are just beginning their digital transformation journey? Do you think what type of support or resources do you believe are necessary for this transformation?
First of all, I would say don't give up, because it's really worth it. So that's the main suggestion I would give. Going to the last part of your question, Ricardo, I would say that it's really necessary that the company as a whole also sees the upsides of technology. Because if you are within a company that's very resistant to technology, it's not the legal team that will make here a major disruption within the company. So first of all, legal teams and in-house legal teams need to have that environment that is friendly enough to adopt this kind of solutions. And that being said, I would also say that lawyers, again, who are a little bit at the beginning, they struggle a lot with technology. They need to make this behavioral change. They need to go through it and believe within their core that this really changes, digital tech really changes the ways of working. It allows for gains to be achieved. It allows for the role of in-house legal teams to shift from a reactive position to a proactive position, and as Michele was mentioning, to a more strategic and more business-oriented role, and that I believe should be at least the ultimate goal of every in-house legal department.
Thank you. And Trevor, what do you see as without disclosing any of the future roadmap of your product, but what do you see as emerging technologies do you believe will have the most impact or significant impact on in-house legal teams in this area of legal tech?
Yeah, that's a great question, and certainly not going to give away the kingdom here with my answer. But I think where the entire, generative AI space is moving is more agentic in nature, and so just kind of mitigating that prompting burden on users. I personally think that prompting is always going to represent the outer limits of discovery in generative AI because you're engaging with the technology and asking it to kind of fully flesh out ideas for you and prompting gives you that kind of unsupervised, unguarded way to do so. But where I think customers are going to continue to move, whether they're in-house or at law firms, is the desire to really have processes sped up to almost the click of a button. And what those processes are and where the demand is going to vary. I don't think anyone's going to say with a click of a button, I'd like to organize an acquisition of my major competitor or anything like that. But certainly for diligence, contract review, I think Michelle's point's very well taken on transforming in-house legal teams from rather than being kind of an infrastructure point and in a pejorative sense considered a cost center in some backwards thinking organizations, instead being much more of a value add and a driver of revenue. Those kind of automating workflows, contract reviews to understand where you can press your advantage as quickly as possible and getting that information out the door is where people want to move. And so we're excited to be a part of that journey. I think with the in-house teams we already work with, we're engaging in conversations on what are the common workflows that you're doing that we can build out a process where now a user doesn't have to individually upload all of these agreements, doesn't have to individually review all these agreements. They can instead drop them in a zip file and then just kind of let Harvey or whatever other tool work and go from there. I think that ultimately that will be kind of the dual process of growth in generative AI is how do we automate certain functions that look very similar for different organizations? And then at the same time, how do we continue to build out the technological backend so that prompting and users engaging with the technology can leverage their imaginations to push the kind of boundaries of what the technology can do?
Thank you. So we're going for a closing round of questions. I'd like to ask Michelle, how do you measure this success in this digital transformation initiatives and also how do you see your projects, the Law Without Walls and the Digital Legal Exchange projects evolving in the future?
Well, in Law Without Walls right now, we have a format that's a sprint. So it's a 3-day sprint in March, and corporate legal departments like HSBC and London Banking Group, and law firms like White and Case and others, Pinsent Masons, et cetera, sponsor teams. And they pick topics that matter to them. And last year, every single topic was related to generative AI and how to deal with the fact that maybe the juniors' jobs are being taken over and they don't have the discernment yet to use the tool. So what used to take a junior associate 10 hours is taking a senior associate 10 minutes. And so that a lot of topics were on that last year, and also on how to use Gen AI to create efficiencies. And for example, Novartis 2 years ago in LWOW, through the sprint came up with a solution to help drastically reduce the contracting time with facilities for drug testing. And they've rolled that out to thousands and thousands of contracts, saving, I think it's about 7 or 8 weeks for each contract. So I think success is piloting projects and seeing results. I think that's a big piece. And the in-house departments of the future that are successful are going to be piloting small projects and hopefully seeing positive results. And I think that's one way to measure success. It's also important for in-house to be making sure that their priorities are aligned with the business. One thing that I've learned in the Digital Legal Exchange from a priority alignment survey is in-house are really good at knowing what they're good at, and they're good at knowing what they need to work on. Yet there sometimes is a misalignment between what the business cares, what's their priority, and what is the priority of in-house. So making sure that these pilot projects fit the priority of the business, I think, is also something that's really important and is something that should be measured for success.
Thank you. And Marta, in terms of speaking of priorities, what do you see as the main priorities in terms of legal tech adoption in your in-house legal team, or what challenges do you anticipate in the near future for adoption of legal tech tools?
So we are currently undergoing a big alteration in how we work in contract management. So we have a major project that is implementing a tool that goes through contract lifecycle management, and we have been working on that. It's almost a year now, and we believe that throughout 2025 it will be implemented, and that is major for us because we don't have a tool that centralizes all the contracts, that has all the information of contracts, and that will be a game changer. We believe that will allow the company to truly enforce its rights and obligations under contracts without depending solely on contract managers. We also believe that it will save a lot of time from the people, the teams that undertake permit renewals. So that's our main focus at the time, is to conclude this project. It has also a module that I think it's very interesting, while it's not yet in the roadmap of implementation, but I think it's very interesting, and I think that it will be the next step. And it's mainly a module that goes through like a risk approach analysis of contracts and their deviations during negotiations, and that is major. I believe it's major, and I believe it will be the future, a short future from now, that will allow our team and also the procurement team that also accompanies the negotiations of contracts to have a more clear view on what really is important to engage with vendors. And so I think these are the challenges in our let's say in this year and next year for our company.
Thank you for that. So, and Trevor, what do you see as perhaps the most unexpected outcome of the implementation of a tool such as Harvey in your clients, and in terms of customer feedback, how has this been helping improve the tool?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the most unexpected is really any time we see Harvey used in a way that we just maybe even guide against. I think that there are lots of generative AI tools where you basically say it's not going to be very good at X, Y, or Z. Certainly, generative AI is not very good at math, which is always a fun little contradiction in terms of relying on computers for math, except with generative AI. And it's always exciting when our users will find a way to have Harvey do something that we kind of say it maybe can't do. So one example certainly I've seen is we'll say something like, with generative AI outputs, there is kind of a cap on how long of a document it can draft. It's just kind of the nature of the token usage to get to that output. And then we hear from our users that they actually found a way through kind of repetitive and iterative prompting to get a full underwriting agreement or something like that. And so for us, I think the real lessons we take away is that it is a maybe not a new lesson, but a reminder that our growth as a business is so dependent. Our growth as an industry is so dependent on leveraging the lessons that our customers and our partners have learned, not even over decades, but in some cases over 100 years of kind of practicing law and interacting with that in their businesses. And so taking those lessons and leveraging them as much as we can to meet them where we are, or where they are, excuse me. So I think that that's probably the biggest excitement for me, is just getting to see how, especially when it's like a partner or something, someone who's practiced law for 30, 40 years, and then they jump into the platform and they're like, okay, Harvey did this thing for me that was so incredible. And seeing that. And then I think the other thing is, and I alluded to this earlier, but kind of the making the practice of law more humane. Anytime we hear from folks, hey, this would have taken me some number of hours. I've heard from people, I was able to make a wedding or stay at a wedding for the full duration of the festivities, because I didn't have to run back to my computer, because I knew it could be taken care of in 3 hours, not 8. And so those are really rewarding, but ultimately the excitement comes from, we're just starting on this adventure. And I think as a species, we're all kind of just starting on this adventure of generative AI. But for us, particularly, it's just been really exciting to find so many uh, excited partners, and we're continuing to grow that out. And I think today I've made at least 2 new friends here with my co-panelists, and excited to continue the conversation with them moving forward as well, to see how we can all kind of collectively grow and drive value for the people who need to be served by their legal needs.
Thank you very much. So this ends our time for today, for our discussion. I'd like to thank you for sharing your thoughts and experiences with us today, and hope to see you in the next event. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we bring our online international conference to a close. I'd like to offer a special thanks to our speakers for their valuable insights and for being with us. We would love to have your feedback. Please fill out a short survey using the QR code shown on the screen. Finally, thank you for attending. Videos of this conference will be available at the Lisbon Law and Tech website. We hope to see you next year.